the state of Oklahoma, Senator Lankford. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Morgan.
The senator and I were together last night. As I mentioned earlier in the show, we were briefly talking about Israel, about China. We're going to talk about all of that. But, Senator, I want to go to the border because you were able in a hearing recently to get the DHS Homeland Security Secretary to say something, to admit on the record. He said, Senator, yes, the asylum system is broken. Our entire immigration system is broken. First of all, congratulations to you, Senator, for getting the DHS Secretary to admit that. Now that they have admitted that it's broken, what do they need to do next?
Yeah, this is the big next step on it, is to determine it's broken. He not only said it's broken, but I asked him point blank, does the asylum system need to be reformed? His response was the asylum system needs to be reformed from top to bottom. This has been a statement a lot of folks on the left have said, we can't touch asylum system. It's just allowing people in from around the world that desperately need help, when really the asylum system is what is being gamed. And so I focused on working with DHS, with Alejandro Mayorkas, to try to work towards what is a solution that we can actually get to. I was pleased that he actually put a public statement out there, not only saying that it needs to be reformed top to bottom, but he even said that the funding request that was put out by the White House, he called it a tourniquet and said it's really not going to solve the real problem. It's a temporary fix on it. So the big issue now is, what can we get to an agreement right now to say, how do we actually get control of our border again? And Morgan, if I can just say this one thing, asylum has always been a thing. We have allowed asylum. We have a treaty obligation since 1967 on asylum. But if you go back to 2010, our country had 21,000 people a year ask for asylum, 21,000 a year. Now that's every 3 days. So this has been a huge shift. It is something that's been gamed by the cartels, and we got to be able to lock it down.
You know, Senator, I was just at the border in Arizona, Yuma, this weekend with Joni Ernst, who we also saw last night. And one of the things that I don't know if our viewers and our listeners know, but it's amazing to see in person. You can actually in Yuma go to the end of the Trump border wall, which was built until the last day of his administration. And then in the Biden administration, the very next day, the contractors were told to stop. You can see the end of the wall. You can see where the border is open. And you could also see probably, I would estimate, millions of dollars worth of border wall, unfinished border wall that is sitting there. They have it fenced off. They're letting it just rot, and they're sitting. I mean, there's a little bit of an irony, as Joni Ernst pointed out, to letting the border wall have a fence around it so that nobody can get in and touch those materials. So we know that the wall is effective and that it works. Have you been able to get the administration to move on that point at all, to finish the wall from any perspective?
Yeah, after 3 years of pushing on it, finally the Biden administration has agreed they're going to complete the wall system that was actually funded and that was designed. And by the way, career professionals at DHS and Homeland Security, Border Patrol, CBP, those folks that are career folks, they're the ones that ask for sections of wall. You were there, you saw it. Not only do you have sections of wall that are there, all the materials are there ready to go up, but if you go to the end of the wall, what you always see is a foot traffic path there where people literally walk around that end of the wall, and they walk right into the country, and they immediately walk in and say, I have fear in my country, I want asylum. And what happens is they go into a 10-year backlog, and they're in the country, and the cartels then get a next person and a next person. And while the cartels make billions, with a B, billions of dollars, we're just sitting there with the wall construction unfinished and with an asylum system that we know as being gamed.
Well, one of the things I appreciate about you, Senator Lankford, is a lot of people will come on the show or on television and they will complain about the open and undefended border. Very few people are offering real and concrete solutions and pushing the administration towards those solutions. So we certainly appreciate, sir, that you were doing that. I want to switch over to Israel because there's so many important news coming out of there. There's actually some breaking news this morning that the IDF says that they have killed Hamas's head of weapons production, and that was from an IDF airstrike in the Gaza Strip. They are clearly doing everything they can to eliminate the terrorist threat from Hamas that clearly exists to harm, to kill, to destroy the Jewish state. We have seen Biden rhetorically, the president be with Israel initially, but now we have this push. We have the Secretary of State continuing to push for a humanitarian pause, which is effectively a ceasefire. Where do you think the administration should be rhetorically as it relates to Israel in this moment?
Yeah, we need to stand with our ally Israel, who has been attacked in a terrorist attack that was violent and brutal, and they are actually engaging to be able to target the individuals who brought the fight to them. You hear that every day where Israel is identifying the different individuals, where they're located, and going after, like today with the weapons manufacturer, and other days it was planners, folks that are actually carrying out this attack. This is very similar to what we did in our wars, where you remember the playing cards years ago, where there were certain key people that we were looking for, and we were trying to be able to identify who we knew were the greatest threat, and we were working our way through our list of our top 10 folks. We cannot forget that Israel is trying to protect itself from an unprovoked next attack on it, and they can't allow this to be able to happen over and over again. So they're engaging, doing what they can to be able to end a war against them. They're not trying to start one, they're trying to end one and say this has to stop. We have to be protected. By the way, Hamas is continuing to fire rockets into Israel at civilians. And while people all over the world in their media focus on what Israel is doing and saying, hey, there are civilians being killed, every day Hamas is still firing rockets at civilians in Israel. No one's calling on Hamas to do a ceasefire on it. They seem to just be pushing on Israel to do a ceasefire.
You're totally right. I couldn't agree more. You know, we still have American hostages, American human shields that Hamas is holding in these Gaza tunnels, Senator, for a month now. Do you think, and we were just playing the testimony, the press conference of one of the brothers of one of the American hostages yesterday, that was very powerful, from the new House Speaker having those families of American hostages speak yesterday. Is the administration doing enough to get our American hostages home?
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult, Morgan. I have to tell you, this is an area where we can press and try to identify their locations. Hamas is keeping these hostages in tunnels and places that are very, very difficult to be able to identify. And so it's the matter of trying to be able to look through satellite imagery to try to identify where are these folks located, and then what do we actually do to be able to get to them. So there's a hostage rescue team that's standing at the ready, that's there in the region. We're working to be able to identify where those folks are located and providing the capabilities to be able to go get them when we find them. But the key aspect now is trying to identify where they're located. As you rightfully mentioned, Hamas uses them as international human shields, trying to be able to provide leverage to be able to protect their existence, to be able to come back and attack Israel again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that we also saw yesterday, the White House was questioned about the number of attacks on U.S. troops. We were talking about Iran last night with Joni Ernst and with Senator Haggerty. We know that there have been, you know, we're going back and forth on the numbers. We know at least 21 troops have been injured in the past 2 weeks, 40 attacks against U.S. facilities a month. And what really caught my eye, and I was shocked that this didn't make more news, Senator, is that the Wall Street Journal reported last month a drone loaded with explosives was found lodged in the upper floors of the U.S. barracks, one of the barracks in Iraq. Thank God it failed to detonate. But this is coming. This was around the 40-year anniversary of the Beirut bombings against the Marines that we lost. You know, what else does the administration need to do to restore deterrence? We've got American hostages held by a terrorist group in Gaza, and we have other terrorist group attacking U.S. troops in the Middle East. And God forbid that explosive would have gone off in the barracks. God only knows how many young men and women we would have lost.
Yeah, the painful part of this is the Biden administration has absolutely put the 9/11 requirement that we put down to say, here's what America's standard is going to be. We're going to attack you if we find out you're about to attack us. We're going to stop you. The Biden administration has flipped that on its head and said, we're going to allow you to attack us until someone is killed. Again, prior to this, the focus from 3 administrations in a row was, we're not going to allow you to kill us first, and then we'll respond. We're going to try to protect Americans. Now the Biden administration's focus is, we're going to allow you to continue to attack us until you kill someone. That is not the way that we should actually defend Americans. And I would tell you, in the Middle East, that's not the way to be able to show strength. That is a region that understands strength and power. And if we show weakness and timidity, that just makes our troops more and more vulnerable. As you mentioned, more than 36 attacks by Iranian-backed Shia militants all over the region that they have attacked American forces, and this administration continues to just say, don't, as if that is some sort of deterrent at it. They continue to be able to come day after day to be able to attack American forces. It is due to our ability to defend ourselves that there's not been an American killed, rather than sending a very clear military kinetic message back to Iran to say, we will not allow you to attack our folks. We are going to defend Americans.
Well, I don't know about the rest of my listeners, but you're a fantastic senator. But man, I almost feel like we need you as Secretary of Defense right now. And, you know, Senator Lankford, I know it's morning. I did not sing Oklahoma to you today. I was humming "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" before you came on. So it's still my favorite senator from the state of Oklahoma. Senator Lankford, thank you for being with us.